OnPoint Board of Directors meeting to order. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Quick question, is Robin Clay on?
She said she was unable to attend this part of it. She was here for the program committee, but she couldn't stay.
Okay. I'm going to give her an absence, excused absence. And Jessica will not be here tonight either, from what I understand. And so she will be marked as absent, as excused absence, because she did alert us to that. Next on the agenda is the provision for public comment. We have a provision where anyone that of the public would like to address the board on any issue, we would like to hear from you. Is there anyone in the meeting room tonight that would like to address the board on any issue on the agenda, or is there anyone online?
Is Stephanie? Not just Stephanie. Looks to be Stephanie.
Second call. Not hearing anyone that would like to take that opportunity, we will close the provision for public comment. And we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Do I hear a support?
Support.
Support by Beth. I'll just go and do a voice confirmation of this. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? The agenda stands approved. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anyone that would like to have any of these items removed from that for further consideration? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Alice. Do I hear support? Okay, who was it? Was it Pam or Karen?
Karen's got this one.
Okay.
The first.
Giving it to Karen. And I'll take a roll call on this. Kimberly Bartnick,
Yes.
Pam Brenner.
Yes.
Ben Brookhouse.
Yes.
Mark DeYoung.
Yes.
I say yes. Jane Farrell,
Yes.
Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Alice Kelsey,
Yes.
Karen Stratton,
Yes.
and Pastor Craig Van Beek.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the program committee. Ms. Kelsey, will you take that?
Yes, we spent, the bulk of the meeting today talking about, next year and what, kind of what we want to, highlight as far as what the program committee, takes up. And, it's quite a discussion about, there's so much to think about and talk about. And, we kind of decided that, first of all, we would like a CCBHC 101. And just some fundamentals about what does this mean for us as far as us adopting this new program that's going to affect everything that we do. And then how that is, as the months go along, we'll have the different departments kind of talk to us about how CCBHC has affected what they do or not. And so I thought it was a really nice time to just stop a minute and think about what it is we want to do instead of just doing it the way we've always done it, kind of idea. And so I thought that we talked a little bit about the conference in Kalamazoo. There's a couple of items. There's actually one in particular that's talking about CCBHC and the demonstration, and I intend to attend that one, just so that I can say that I kind of know what this is all about. Is there anything else? I think that was the bulk of what we talked about today.
Thank you very much for that report. Is there any questions for Alice? Yes, Beth?
The CCBHC 101. I don't know when you plan on doing that, but maybe open it up to all the board members and so forth. It'd be helpful to understand it. So great idea.
That's, I didn't know what I saw your look and I thought, oh, does she feel like that's a waste of time? And I'm like, I'm the only one who doesn't know. And, but we also talked about that. Well, you know, are some of these things, just for program, or is it something that maybe the whole board? Cause like the changes in financing is, to me, very interesting. And I don't know whether it's just program or if it's gonna be really the whole board should kind of have a CCBHC Finance 101. Just to add to your plate, Andre. It's just a suggestion.
We'd like dinner with it.
Well, with that said, this is a new frontier we are going into. And there are a lot of aspects to CCBHC and the financial, the delivery of services, the programming and how it affects the rest of the organization. And the idea that whoever comes in the door gets served, no matter who they are, financial status or anything, everyone gets served. And that was the dream of Senator Stabenow. And I believe that we in Allen County can really make this work to its utmost dream that Senator Stabenow had. And with that said, is there anything else with the program?
Well, that just reminded me, do we think there is any chance that, she could possibly come by yet to, is that still, anybody working on that?
Yeah,
Because-
I talked with her staff, I'll say probably a month and a half ago or so, and she said it is still very much on their radar. And, to kind of trust us, we'll make it happen at some point,
Great.
so.
Okay. With that, is there any other questions for the program prepared? Hearing none, thank you very much for your report this evening, Alice. Appreciate the effectiveness of the program committee and their duties. Mrs. Johnson, you have the floor, Finance Committee.
Thank you. Just leading off from what Alice just said, I'd like to have the board turn to page 9 in their packet. And October is the first month of the fiscal year. And this is the first time our financial reports are split out to show the CCBHC separate from the rest of the organization. And this is a work in progress. But Andre and all of the finance departments on top of this, and building systems to make sure we know where the revenues and expenses are coming and going from. On the next page, on page 10, that's the overall statement of revenue, expenses, and change in net position. It's only for 1 month because it's only for the month of October. So it's an early start. There's not a lot to be said about it unless you want to add anything.
No, I'd be glad to answer any questions that we have around this. You know, it's a new presentation. What we want to bring forward to this board and the spirit of transparency is to make sure that you are aware that we are trying to that we're looking to break out the CCBHC efforts. So those expenses and align them with the revenue being generated, because I'll call that, you know, our organic revenue that we're generating. So it's that based on the fee for service. Whereas the top portion on page 9 reflects the capitated revenues and those associated expenses. Like capitated revenues are the revenues that we receive from the state that They represent our allotment based on the Medicaid roll of individuals that come through. So that's a set amount that comes to us that we receive as revenue. So what we're doing from a presentation standpoint is separating those revenues out so that this board can see how we are managing those expenses. One, for the dollars that come from the state, but also really managing the expenses against the revenue and the units of service that we are providing under the CCBHC model. So it's a little bit of work in progress. It's first presentation at this, and the numbers that you see here from the expense side we feel really comfortable, or I feel really confident on those numbers from the expense side. Those are our direct costs. On the revenue side, because this is the first month and we do not have a balance sheet for you, we will have that balance sheet because we haven't closed out the year yet for fiscal year 23. We will not have a balance sheet to provide you. So there are some estimates that are in here around the revenue. And then as we get through probably at the end of the first quarter, so the end of December, which those numbers we will not be discussing until February, right? We should have a pretty good idea of where we're at with balance sheet, because we should be far enough along in the process of the audit to provide you a balance sheet, and also have the revenue numbers tighten up around what we're seeing, particularly when it comes to the CCBHC. We've encountered a few, snags. We run a lot of volume, through there, and making sure that the units of service actually tie out to the revenue. And so we run a few different reports and seen a few differences, and so we're just tying down from a process and also programming standpoint, making sure that we're understanding what's flagging in the system and that charts are getting closed out and signed off on in a timely way. So there's some process opportunity, but also we're examining some of the programming that's within the streamlined EMR, electronic medical record system, that does the billing and provides our revenue reporting for us.
Do you have any other comments on page 10 with the net position or anything?
Oh, sure. Looking at our entire financial position for the month, we're very much in line. So if you look at the year-to-date total just for March, we had revenue come in of 3.3 million, representing roughly 7.9% of our budget spend that we project for that month. But then if we're going down to the total expenses, we got going against that 3.3 in our revenue is $3.25 million in associated expenses, also representing 7.9% of the budgeted expense for the month of October, giving us an ultimate net change in net position of $44,000. I call that break even in financial terms. So we're doing well starting out the gate. But once again, I do want to preface it with the fact that there were some estimates in there because we have CCBHC revenue included, because that's an entire presentation of our financial and also revenue and expense picture for the organization.
Okay, anybody have any questions on that? Oh, sure, Alex.
Could you just explain what the columns mean? Like,
Sure.
what are redirects?
Yes, thank you all for bringing that up. So redirect, so that column, what that reflects is the overture and expenses, particularly associated with the CCBHC, where our expenses were, where we did not have the revenue to offset the expense. So that $62,932, if you're looking at the CCBHC subtotal, those are dollars that were additional or excessive expenditures. The revenue did not offset it, so we pulled out of general fund to offset it. And what those expenses really represent are the services that are not covered by Medicaid. So we use general fund to cover those expenses for those clients.
But aren't we gonna bill if they do have some kind of insurance?
If they do, we will certainly pursue, but for this month, because starting out, that's part of this, part of the, I guess I'll call it a project that the teams are working on right now to go back and find out, okay, why didn't the system flag it? Was it the system or was it part of our process to flag this person as a CCBHC client? So then that revenue would come in to offset the expense for the service that we provided. But at
That
the end of the
number will
month,
go down as
That
the
it-
months go.
exactly, exactly, you got it.
And when you say direct costs, do you mean that these are like billable hours? We know that we can document that we provided this.
That'd be all the costs associated, including the direct costs as well as the administrative costs associated with the CCDHC, as well as the capitated services. So it'd be the entire, all of the expenses.
And when we're talking about revenue, like with Medicaid, we just get a bunch of money based on how many people have Medicaid in Allegan County on this month. But with CCBHC, we have to bill them, right? So this, when you say we have this revenue, is it to be billed or we actually received it from the billing that we sent out?
Both. So it's to be built. Well, so it's a-
I don't get to say that.
Well, yeah, right. Only a finance person can say both. No, really, it's, some of it is due to timing. So we bill it out,
Mhm.
receive revenue. Others to be billed where you do an estimate to say, okay, we're anticipating this revenue to come in. So
So
we
this
haven't.
isn't actually dollars in the bank yet, when it's in the revenue, it's
Correct.
like what we expect to get.
Correct,
Okay.
which is different than the cash that you'd see on a balance sheet. So that's
Yeah.
cash.
Right.
Yeah.
And with the Medicaid, that is the money in the bank.
Yes.
Ellery's already
Yes.
given us that
Correct.
much money.
On the cap, yes, for that top
Okay.
section. Yeah, that.
Good question.
I know this one. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you. We do have a couple of motions we have to, or, action items. On page 6, we have to pay the bills for the month, so, I recommend that the OnPoint board approve the November 2023 disbursements totaling $3,138,577.78.
Can I consider that as a motion? And with that motion, do I hear a support? Support by Alice. Since we're spending money, this will be a roll call. Pastor Van Beek,
Yes.
Karen Stratton,
Yes.
Alice Kelsey,
Yes.
Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Jane Farrell,
Yes.
Gail Dugan says yes. Mark DeYoung. Yes. Glenn Brookhouse. Yes. Pam Brenner
Yes.
and Kimberly Bartnick.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Okay, going on to page 7. We have to get the parking lot plowed this winter, so I recommend that the OnPoint board approve the following list of provider contracts for fiscal year 2024. And this is for the snow removal. That was a motion.
Thank you. Do I hear a support for that motion?
Support.
Support by Kimberly. Is there any other discussion or questions on this? This will be for the entire fiscal year until next January.
And I take it, we did the cost and everything.
Yeah.
And this is like the best one. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's local,
Oh,
so
okay.
they're supporting local business too.
Okay, great.
Is there any further questions on the motion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Gail Dugan says yes. Mark DeYoung. Yes. Glenn Brookhouse. Yes. Pam Brenner,
Yes.
Kimberly Bartnick,
Yes.
Pastor Van Beek,
Yes.
Karen Stratton,
Yes.
Alice Kelsey,
Yes.
Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Jane Farrell.
Yes.
That motion carries.
And that is all for finance.
Thank you very much. Glenn? Yes. You have a report tonight on recipient rights?
I do. We did meet today and recipients' rights, page 13, 14 of your packet. The allegations are a decrease in volume, but an increase in severity, and that is a trend that's been going on, so it's not alarming. Concerning, but not alarming. The fiscal year 23 report is on page 13. There were 2 allegations that were over the 90-day. The report was that there was more evidence needed before those could be taken care of. But then on 2024, you'll see that we have some closings before the 30-day period. And we will attribute that to improvements made by the Director of Recipients' Rights. So we also reviewed and voted to have the annual report forwarded to the Executive Director for signature to go to the state. And then next month, the full board will get to look at the annual report for Recipients' Rights. And that was the overview of our meeting. If there's any detailed questions, I can ask Kelsey to come up.
Kelsey, you don't have to come up with this one. Is this something that you need to have the board approve for sending, or can that be done by the authority of the Recipient Rights Committee?
Yep, done by RAC, goes to Mark for signature submission, and then it goes to the full board just for review and information next month.
Okay.
Okay.
So everyone understands the process here? Glenn, go ahead and continue.
That is the extent of the report, Mr. Chair.
Is there any questions for Glenn? Hearing none, thank you very much for your report this evening, and thank you, Kelsey, for your work on that committee and that office. Next on the agenda is the LRE update. We have Stephanie Vandekoy. Did I get that pronounced right this time?
Yes, you
Okay.
did.
All right. Stephanie, you have the floor.
Wonderful. Thank you. And my apologies for not being there in person. We had our potluck today at work, so I just landed home from Muskegon. So just want to give a couple quick updates. Tomorrow is our board of directors meeting. It is at 1 p.m. We do not have a board work session in the morning, so just wanted to let you all know that in the event you want to log in, we can send you the Zoom link. The other item I wanted to mention is we have hired a clinical manager. That individual will be starting on January 8th. And we also have 3 other positions open at LRE and/or we're in the process of filling, which is a facility reviewer, a quality assistant, and a data analyst. So those would be in our quality department as well as our IT department. The other item I wanted to share with this group is we are, I can't recall if I shared this last month or not, but we did get feedback from MDHHS, so from the state, from our substance use disorder strategic plan. So specifically, I can't recall what I've shared with you and what I haven't, but back in July, we submitted to the state our strategic plan for the region for the next 3 years. I kid you not, we just got word about 2 weeks ago that it was approved and ours was the best in the state. So very excited for this region and just want to thank your team on prevention and treatment for assisting us in writing this as well too. So that is located on our website. So we're very excited about that and we can continue the great work that we're doing in the region. And then one last thing I wanted to mention is that we are embarking on a new contract with our CMH friends, and we have provided our CMH friends with a copy of the contract for their review right now. And we look forward to the feedback that is due back to us on January 12th. And hopefully we'll be able to do a little back and forth and make sure this works for everybody. But then that would take effect on April 1st for this year. Well, I should say next year, technically, for 2024. So those are just a couple of updates that we have at LRE that completes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions for Stephanie at this time from the board? Thank you very much for your report this evening, Stephanie. And we wish you as an entire board season greetings and a happy new year.
Thank you. All of you as well.
Next on the agenda is the Chairman's Executive Committee report. The committee met Friday here in this building. We had quite the discussion on different topics, going through what we were, the board tasks and things of that nature. One of the board tasks is the executive director evaluation that was going to be passed out this evening. And how we were going to conduct staff input for evaluation of the director. And we decided to go a certain direction. And with the full faith of the executive board, we are extending that out to staff. I understand that Mr. Whitty has already passed that out to department heads. So we're interested in getting that information back. You'll also have your survey form for the board here in front of you. Fill that out and bring it back or send it to me as soon as possible so I can get that tabulated for the board report in January.
This right here.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is the, what we would be, is the, a little bit longer version of what we have been doing in the past. And, going forward for that, to have better input, from the board. I also at this time, need to, bring forward to you the meeting dates for next year. They're available in your packet on page 18, I believe, or 19, no, further back. Sorry about that. Twenty-five is the, proposed meeting dates. The people that are on the, different committees and the times. And that, so those committees will be meeting. I would move that the OnPoint board accept these as our meeting dates and times for the 2024 year. Do I hear a support to that motion?
Or
By voice vote, everyone in favor of this is say yes.
yes.
All opposed, say no. Motion is carried. These are the dates and times for our next year's meetings. With that, we had some discussion on other different topics. I have put in a call to legal to take care of some progress on different things. So we're prepared in case that the executive board makes that recommendation after evaluations have come in. And so he's got to come back and get back with me. So with that, is there any questions for me as chairperson or the executive committee? Yes, Mrs. Johnson.
Is the executive director evaluation, is there a possibility of getting that online?
Have to
And
defer that to Mark.
We could certainly send it to you in the Word document easily.
no, not a Word document, like a Google form, and you just fill it out and tabulate it, and then you have a spreadsheet.
There's a security aspect to this too. And going through Google, that's out on the internet world. So I don't know if you would be comfortable with that or not.
Well, in your territory, I can't personally answer very well in terms of whether or not that would be a good idea or not.
Well, how many, is this going out to the staff?
Well, I mean, not the same form and not electronically, other than through a Word document.
Cause I mean, we have what, 150 some employees, that's a lot of tabulation. You know, we work smarter kind of thing.
I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, see, Pam's agreeing with me. So,
Mark, did you have a question?
Well, it was on a different topic.
Yes, well, let's finish up on this topic that Mrs. Johnson has brought up.
I'd be happy to pursue it. I just can't guarantee that it will wind up where you're thinking, but we'll work on it.
So then, once we're completed this document, you want us to like scan and email it to you then?
Or
Hand it.
snail mail it, or give it to Mr. Whitty, and I'll stop by and pick them up, or Megan. Yep, so. Is there any further questions on the evaluation? Hearing none. Mr. DeYoung?
My question is on the nominating committee.
Yes.
When does that have to send a report in?
Nomination committee will be, well, when you look at your board packs, those, elections are made. And going down to the board, first, fourth. Board packs are on page 18? No. Wrong. Do you have a copy of that? Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
March is processed nominations. February is received nominations. It's this one.
Right. So April is when the officers take, their new offices.
Yep.
Okay. So that's when that, committee will be, expected to, between January and February. So they have a report.
Chairman, ordinarily you will appoint them next month's meeting, ordinarily.
Okay.
If I get early, it's up to you.
I just, mentioned to everyone that, and make sure that they're willing to be on that committee. And if that's, what Mr. Whitty is suggesting, I will appoint you next month. And then, just give you a calendar. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Any other questions on Mr. DeYoung's concern? Okay, is there any other questions for me? Hearing none. You don't have any questions or?
She's okay.
Okay,
I think you answered.
all right. With that, meeting schedule's been set. Number 11. Mr. Wade, would you give your executive director's report?
I'll be very brief. I only have one item that isn't in the packet to address, and it's just a little augmentation on the legislative section under number 5. So let me do that right now, just to put it out there. I thought it'd be useful for us to recap some of the legislative status of several bills that we heard about at the board association directors meeting, the board of directors meeting. And the one addition to that is one that was introduced on October 26th by Representative Conlon. The only reason I bring it up is because it was introduced and had bipartisan support from the beginning, which sort of gives it a little more likelihood of having attention. And it's bill number 5276 through 5280. So it's a packet of, I think, 5 bills altogether, which are all tie-barred, meaning that if one passes, they all have to pass in order to be able to. Now, that could be broken up later, but that's how it's been introduced. As I said, it was 5 Republicans and 18 Democrats, but that's considered fairly bipartisan these days. And it was referred to the Committee on Military, Veterans, and Homeland Security. What it is, it's a veterans' mental health bills. And we'll have to watch this pretty closely for one reason, and that is that there's already quite a bit of efforts being done throughout our community mental health system and throughout the state to provide attention to the needs of veterans and the needs of veterans both locally and at the state level with issues related to suicide, substance use, all kinds of matters that relate to mental health. And we just want to make sure that whatever system is being supported or advanced, which is always good to advance care, that's done with coordination and good sense. One of the, we have a veterans office here at the county. We have a veterans portion of our CCBHC responsibilities. There's a veterans navigator at the regional level. And now there would be under these bills, the institution under Michigan law of a county veterans mental health office, in addition to all that, that doesn't look to be currently coordinated at all with the existing PHP or CMH arrangements. So all well and good, we're just gonna have to keep an eye on it, and I'll bring more detail if you're interested at next meeting, to watch it, but, who knows? Sometimes bills get introduced and they just absolutely go nowhere, but that was one I thought worth watching, simply because of the risk of uncoordinated development. I know our county folks are generally not wild about Lansing initiatives that impose expectations on county government. But this would certainly be one that would land there. So we'll have an opportunity for input, I'm sure, as it goes through the process. But right now, been referred to the Committee on Military Veterans and Homeland Security. So other than that, I'll just let my report stand for itself unless you have questions on anything in it.
Does anyone have a question for Mr. Woody at this time?
What was the bill number again?
5276 through 5280. So it's a House bill right now.
Thank you.
You said that this for veterans?
I'm sorry?
You said this is for veterans?
It's a veterans mental health package of bills.
Where would that take place? Like a veteran needed help and they pass this, where would they go?
It would create another place where veterans could theoretically go to get the help that they deserve, but in every community around the state. So every county would have an office.
So besides just the VA, so to speak.
It would be separate from the VA.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Alice, you have a question?
Well, I was just trying to remember, Stephanie mentioned the contracts. Didn't we already say that we gave Mark permission to assign it, or is that something we have to do?
For the regional contract, not yet. It's been on an extension basis for about 2 years. So it's been renewed every so often just by contract extension, which I've gone ahead and signed. But whenever we get a new contract from the state or the region, for those bigger contracts, I always ask for your consent going into it, because it really is a board commitment. So that has not been given nor asked yet.
Well, what was she talking about?
So you're talking about a contract that's in the works. We are currently in the process of reviewing it. And what I put in here too, it has been a number 4, is that you usually go through a very organized stepwise approach to reviewing it. And I said I would seek approval at the right time in the process.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities of what would happen between now and then. I don't want to predict any departure from the plan to have an April 1 start date. But there have been moments where we've had such significant feedback or significant issues, that we had to postpone the date or whatever. So I'm not asking for permission yet, just because it's not time yet.
Okay. Mrs. Johnson, you have the floor.
Pertaining to this LRV contract, is that the operating agreement?
No,
No, that's
that would be
separate.
essentially the contract that manages all Medicaid funding from the region to us.
Do you, are you looking for any changes to be made to it?
Yes.
Which are?
There are a number of questions that I and my colleagues around the region are having around the issues of which services are delegated to us, which ones are shared, which ones are held by the LRE. And in some cases, there's some very significant changes from the past. And we want to make sure that A, it's intentional, B, that it makes sense, there's some issues that relate to things like, I'll just say contract management. Who's responsible for doing auditing of the providers that we engage as a contractor, issues of compliance, who does what. There's some recipient rights, roles, stepping, making sure that the responsibilities of each party are clear, understandable, and sensible. So in some cases, we've got questions about clarity. In other cases, we have questions about the appropriateness of the assignment, to whether it's to us or to the region. And then in shared situations, who does exactly which role, because that might not be defined in the document yet. And yeah, it's very critical to the good operation of the contract that we know exactly who's doing what.
And is this tied to the money we get, or is that a different formula?
Yeah, no.
From this, or?
The formula is managed through the operating agreement that exists between all the CMHs and the region, so a 6-party agreement. To change that, you would not simply propose a contract to one. So we all have been receiving the same contract draft at this point, but we would sign it individually, not collectively. So it's a different agreement.
Is there any other questions for Mark at this time? Just one, to your knowledge with the veterans bills, does it change anything with Veterans Court? Where our veterans are getting help once they are in trouble?
To my knowledge, it would not, but it would obviously imply that there would be another need for coordination between the Veterans Court and the county offices or the state resources that are being proposed to be established.
Okay. Well, that's more to be found out.
Much.
Yes. With that, if there's no other things, thank you very much for your report this evening. The next is a provision of public comment, but before we go into that, Alice had brought this up before earlier in the meeting, and I wanted to make sure that all the board members here and even the ones that are absent, I would encourage you, being that it's only here in Kalamazoo, to sign up for the conference in February. There's a lot of good classes there. There's a lot of good information, and it's good to find out what other board members that go there, of how they do things, and to share ideas and to learn and it's only 20 miles away. And this is an opportunity for a very economical conference that we can share it. So I would encourage everyone to be able to go.
I would add the PS that you can even knock off some board work credits while you go.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. With that, we are to our second provision for public comment. Is there anyone from the public or online that would like to address the board on any of the agenda items or anything else that comes to mind? Is there anyone online? Hearing none, second call here for the public. Hearing none, rising to be recognized. I will close this session and go on to board member comments. Glenn, would you like to start off tonight?
Sure, thank you. I would like to just wish everybody happy, safe holidays.
I would second that. Oh, yeah. Ditto.
Double diddle,
Alice?
I have nothing to add.
triple diddle.
Pam?
I don't have anything either, thank you.
Kimberly?
I don't have anything either.
Jane? Well, as I always end up a meeting, thank you all for being part of this group and the gifts that you bring to this board and the gifts that our staff bring to our organization. Thank you for sharing them with Allegheny County and with the clients that we serve. I also want to wish everyone blessed holidays and a happy new year, and be safe out there, whatever we do. I'll see you next month. Motion to adjourn,
Move to adjourn.
support? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned at 6:14.